Today we have a very interesting topic. Okay, it's a topic where we are going to talk about expectations.
This is expectations of a very specific kind, and that is when you're trying to find a life partner. Seeking a bride who is not on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. I think that guy's gonna have a tough time.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. I don't know anyone who's not on either of these.
He should own a home, have a car, and have a stable government job.
No MBA girls, please. They argue too much.
But what's with the MBA girls arguing too much?
I think that once we pursue MBA and once a person does MBA, they become well woke and they become more known to the surroundings about the world, and hence they start to speak up things which generally men won't like.
I think I wanted someone to be a good person and kind of good looking. I got that.
Yeah, from my side, and my expectations were that Pranali jaisi honi chahiye. So,
What are your non-negotiables in the person you're looking at?
I always wanted my partner should also, work.
What if it stops working?
Then nothing happened. I mean, we can talk about it. We can talk about it.
what is it that you have on your list which is, okay, don't cross this line?
I would actually want the mama's boy kind of a boy because it's just my own.
careful what you wish for.
Or you might just
I
get it. Make sure that you always are with somebody who respects you and respects you.
Welcome back to Love Rollercoaster. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode number 6. And first up, I just want to say thank you for all the love that you've been sending our way. We've been getting a lot of DMs, a lot of comments, a lot of emails, but we could always do with more. Our email ID is in the comment box. And of course, you do have our contact details as well. So definitely do keep those coming. I am your host, Gaurav.
And I'm Mrinalini.
And today we have a very interesting topic. Okay, it's a topic where we are going to talk about expectations. And do you want to talk a little bit more about what we are going to talk about in expectations?
So this is expectations of a very specific kind, and that is when you're trying to find a life partner. And everybody's expectations here are wild, right? We all want Mr. Universe or Miss Universe. But the fact is that, expectations can be a double-edged sword. And you can aim for the stars and get the moon, and you can aim for the moon and get the stars. It's all a matter of luck, and it's all a matter of where you see yourself going. So today we're going to get the expectations of the younger generation and the generation that is now looking for commitment. And let's get their thoughts on it.
Awesome, yeah. And I love how you said sometimes, you're aiming for the moon and you hit the stars. And sometimes you're hitting or aiming for the stars and you hit the moon. And luck, destiny, I mean, who knows, right? A lot of things really come into play. So, of course, we've been off the wedding market for a long time. I think you're all aware of that. So we thought it's time to bring in some youngsters. And today we have two very special people who are joining us on this podcast. We have Kratika, and just to give you some background, Kratika has been with Consortium Gifts for a little over a year. And she's been doing some great things in the space of, digital and a whole bunch of other places. Kratika, great to have you on the pod.
Thank you so much for having me here.
And of course, we have Saurabh, and Saurabh has been the backbone of Consortium, the sales team, managing, so much for that and, taking us to, some really high places and beyond. So Saurabh, it is great to have you here and welcome to Love Rollercoaster.
Thank you for having me here.
So Saurabh, tell us about where you are right now in life, where commitment is concerned.
I'm finally settled down, and it was like truly a roller coaster. And I was always into my work, but after the family pressure, and there are so many things which you have to see, at certain point of time. And I think this is the right time I choose, and so finally I've wanted it, and I've now got it. It's basically a love thing, which I always believe
So
that.
basically you're saying that you finally found love.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
you can say
That's
that.
good.
And that is breaking news to the world because it was under wraps up till now, but no more. So breaking news on Love Rollercoaster that Saurabh's off the market. Kratika, tell me about, yourself. I mean, you've been, big on education, big on your career, but love to know a little bit more about, where you are in this journey at this point in time.
So yeah, I've been working since last 2 years, and then I realized that there is much more I have to discover, and then I thought that why not do it through the means of education? So yeah, in the next 2 months, I'm going to be heading towards a B school. Right now, I'm in a journey which is more career driven as
Sure.
of now. So yeah, that is always like that.
Awesome. Yeah, so interesting. Like both of you are like different, spaces and places in your lives, and of course, your perspectives are going to be very, very valuable and invaluable. Because while we were researching this particular episode, we were going through some matrimonial listings. We were going through what people want, okay, what men want, what women want, what people really want at this time. And with some interesting matrimonials that we came across. Do you want to maybe pull some out and go through some of those matrimonial ads or listings that you saw on some of the portals as well?
So basically, we went through, some of the, and Kratika was a big part of this. We went through a whole lot of, matrimonial sites and all to just see the difference between the expectations of this generation and the expectations from when we were looking to get hitched about 20, 25 years ago. And it's actually very interesting. The expectations are very different in line with the changing times. So here are some, I'm going to read out some expectations from the the boys' side. So you've got a few of them which are very interesting. So you got one is seeking a bride who is not on Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat. I think that guy's going to have a tough time.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. I don't know anyone who's not on either of these.
Yeah, I think where there is Wi-Fi, there is one of those happening. So that's
swear.
impossible.
So
So
that
good,
guy's got to be single. for a
good luck,
long
dude.
time.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yes, the other one is bride should be a virgin and from a conservative family. Okay, might have some luck with that.
Yeah.
Looking for a homely girl who is also a working professional. The other one is no feminist, please. And the other one is bride must be vegetarian, non-smoker, teetotaler, and willing to live in a joint family.
I just wonder if that's an expectation that simultaneously will be fulfilled by the guy on the other side as well, or is this expecting that of the bride to be?
Exactly, like including the virgin part. Like you better be one.
Guys, do you have some thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I have seen all those questions when I was into arranged marriage, and people start noticing such kind of questions after a month or two, and that actually sucks a lot because what you are looking at the person and everything was good, the guy and the girl is good for enough, the family is good, everything is good, but once you start noticing such kind of questions after a month or two, so that will actually hurt so much because this is something you can't expect from your partner.
Okay, so these things, do they, when you first get introduced to the girl through this arranged route, I mean, don't these questions come up
I don't
before
think
or
so.
do they
I
come
don't
up
think
later?
so. When I was into that these kind of questions, like you have mentioned about that virgin thing. So in that portal, I guess only the age, height, these kind of questions were into that portal. But these are the like very important questions, and if the person is like very keen to interested on these things, so I think that's a red flag for me. Definitely a red flag for me.
Yeah. Because I think at this stage, like a lot of you guys are so, very modern.
Of course. And I think it's actually for both sides. It's not just, you asking a girl about these things. It is always, mutually side.
So yeah, there has to be mutual respect.
Of course.
And mutual understandings approach. Because it's not in you don't have that mentality. Right? Yeah. So that must have been difficult. And did you have like quite a few of these instances?
Yeah, I haven't experienced all these questions, but it feels so hurt that after a certain spending such time, and after that you're asking these questions. If that is really important for you, you should ask these questions at the earlier stage only. Why to just waste someone's time and some emotions are also added there.
And this is coming from the girl or from the family?
From the girl.
The other point is very specific. The bride must be between 21 to 23 and a half years old. Horoscope match is a must. No MBA girls, please. They argue too much.
We have a prospective MBA girl in the house now, and you're headed there for your MBA. So what would you do? How would you respond or react when you saw something like that, in a potential outreach that came to you?
Well, I think that I'll dismiss it instantly, and I won't even, spend a tiny bit of my energy toward investing towards, just having a look towards these kinds of profile. Definitely, I would just ignore it.
Yeah. But what's with the MBA girls arguing too much? I think irrespective MBA or no MBA, I think that probably does exist, right?
So I think that once we pursue MBA and once a person does MBA, they become well woke and they become more known to the surroundings about the world, and hence they start to speak up things which generally men won't like. Hence, I feel like that these are the particular people who would write these things, not the ones who are actually woke and who would love to listen to their girls about opinions.
Fair. So you're saying basically, their opinions perhaps, become broader, the horizons are broader, and that might have a bit of, pushback from some families.
Yes.
Get that.
But I have noticed this, that people, like a lot of men don't like women with a lot of opinions. And I have heard it myself, like maybe it was a joke from some friends or whatever. Oh, you've got a lot of opinions. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like I do have a lot of opinions. Of course I do, So, I mean, I think they find it easier if the girl just keeps shut and just does whatever she has to and doesn't argue too much and doesn't really.
It stems from basically in what kind of an environment these guys are brought up in, because like I have a lot of friends of mine who don't think like that. Instead, they ask for opinions of mine and all the girlfriends which I have around. So I don't feel that it is generally a case over here, but then definitely it stems from how you're brought up and how your teachings from your family are. That is where it stems up from. That's I feel.
Yeah. And also your own, personality type, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah. So the other one is now the looks come into it. Should look like Deepika Padukone, but be okay living in a joint family with my parents and 3 uncles. That's very specific.
And he should also write that I do look like Shah Rukh Khan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seriously. And then another one is like only fair-skinned brides apply. Height 5 feet 6 inches minimum. Weight not more than 55 kgs. No makeup users. Wait, this is ridiculous.
I want to ask this guy what is
Like,
BMI?
what if the girl is about 5.5? God. So then the other one is looking for a wife with her own house in Delhi or NCR. Dowry not expected, but flat ownership preferred.
So does that mean that the guy is then going to be moving in to the Delhi house with the girl?
Quite likely.
Mm.
Then, so this obviously shows that the guy doesn't have too much money.
Yeah, it's a new way of asking dowry, basically.
Yeah.
So bride should work only if she wants to, not because she needs to. Now that's a big thumbs up. Looking for a girl who's homely yet modern, should wear sari and also shorts as per occasion. It's not bad either. So this is like what we have at the moment from, what we've managed to collate from the girls, the expectation of boys for the girls they are seeking. Now, Gaurav, you want to talk a little bit about the expectations from the girls' side?
Yeah, and again, I've gone through some of the like really older ones, from the late, let's say 90s, early 2000s, and of course, those were specific and some of them actually very, very funny as well. I remember coming across one which said that there's a mother posting on behalf of the son, and she said, "Oh, my son is an MBA and he's an IIT, IIM, and all of that, but he's super stupid." And, hence I'm looking for a girl, for him. Now, I mean, in today's time, that'd be like so many mega red flags, right? If your mother-in-law is actually the one putting out the matrimonial ad. But we did come across some others and, which I thought was quite interesting. One of them, and this is from the girl's perspective and what they're expecting, of the guy. So groom should or must earn 60 lakh rupees per annum and reside in the UK, EU, or the US of A. All right. So that was one that had popped up over there. He should own a home, have a car, and have a stable government job. Okay, like stable government job. Like why government job? And it says specifically no startups. So thoughts?
I think the word stable, it comes along with government job. So government job, and the first thing which clicks into your mind is stable, since it's just an additional word.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like people generally, specifically, I don't feel like girls, but definitely their parents would want someone who's not working in a startup or not building one which is very, very new, because they would want the groom to be,
Financially stable.
and someone, who does not comes in with a lot of additional responsibilities, because generally people who work in startups, so they're always a lot occupied and they've got a lot of work to do You're not
Yeah.
stable
Yeah.
that way. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a strange one now. And it says the groom must not have any female friends post marriage. Now, of course, I'm sure you've had a lot of female friends. And if someone came in and had that expectation, and we're going to talk about the vice versa as well, where if, you were said, oh, you can't have any guy friends, how would you guys both respond in this case?
No, then also that see,
So
everyone
that's
has
a red
friends.
flag, right?
Yeah, that's a
That's
red
a
flag.
very
I mean,
red
very
flag.
big red
That's one of
flag.
the things where this person is going to be hard to live with.
Of course.
Because it's going to control every aspect of your relationships,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
no.
I guess insecurity is a big
Yeah,
one in that case. And, they'll always want to know who you were out with, where you were at. And I guess there'll be issues
When you're
around that.
working, you have colleagues, you have friends. How can you just skip that, post marriage? So that is something.
Do you have any thoughts on that? In case there was a guy who says, oh, Kratika, you can't have any guy friends after you're married.
I don't.
To be very frank, the first thing which I'll tell the guy very frankly to him and his parents, and either they mention this or not, would be that I have very small family, right? But I have a lot of friends,
Of course.
and my marriage, I will have 10 to 15 friends of mine who will help in the marriage setup. They'll be coming to your house, asking for things, calling you. Because my friends are going to help me up in just getting me married as well. So it's off the chart, it's off the table. It can never happen with me. I can't digest this fact ever.
Yeah.
And I think no one can digest this fact. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if anyone came across an ad that was even something on these lines, like run, like don't even like try to respond, because it's going to be a serious crisis
But a lot
in
of
due
times
course.
it doesn't come up, initially. It comes up later. When they want you under the control. But yeah, we'll talk about these things later in our red flag and green flag episode.
And of course, the last one that popped up over here is must own a 3 BHK and travel 5-star only. All right, thoughts on that?
3 BHK and 5-star. It's like an oxymoron. No?
Well, I mean, have a 3-bedroom apartment and stay at 5 stars, or fly business maybe. So I guess that's what
But
they
I think
imply.
if you can afford to fly business and do all of that, I think your house will be bigger than 3 BHK.
Again, depends in which city you live in. In Bombay, to 3 to hai nahi. Right? So I guess it all depends on which city you're at as well. But okay, let's put the matrimonials aside. Okay, let's talk about expectations that you guys have. Okay, which are non-negotiables. Expectations that you would have of a marriage before you actually head into one. So let's take Kratika first.
I will always have this thing that I would want the person I'm getting married to, him and his family, both, they all should be aligned with the fact that I come with a lot of responsibilities towards my parents.
Sure.
I don't come alone. I come with my parents. They will always be there with me. And like, I have to be accountable towards them. And it is a very huge thing for me. And it also means that maybe like I'm from Jhansi, my parents stay in Jhansi. But then if I'm getting married, and like right now I stay in Noida, so I have my mother along with me over here. So if I am going to be married to someone who stays in Delhi, then I will make sure that my parents also stay in Delhi. So it's that huge for me, and it comes with this perspective. So yeah, and I feel like that there have been a lot of talks around this, like in my extended family. It happens like people generally, like for example, if a girl is looking for a guy, or the parents of a girl, they generally want a guy who is a single child, who is the only child. However, vice versa is worse, because then it happens the guy's parents specifically never want a girl who is the only child of their parents. Because
so this has become a criterion these days. I mean, I didn't realize that.
yes, I mean, of course it's not for all, of course, definitely not for all, but then some people do have this thing that they do not want their son to get married to a girl who is the only child of
Why
their
is that?
parents. Because again, it comes with a lot of responsibilities. The girl will always be
Was-
equally or even more reliant towards her parents, and will always look upon to her parents, definitely. And because generally these girls have been brought up in a way that, as the son of their family, right? So then hence they also, the girl, like specifically me, I also feel that yes, I have to give it back to my parents as well. They kept me because they thought that yes, I'll be capable enough to handle them, to take care of them. So I have to.
Kratika, you were also saying, about this generation, right? There are a whole lot of expectations that are so different this generation from when we were getting married. Like I still remember sitting with my father, And we were talking, and he's like, "How come you haven't got a boy yet?" And I was like 22 or something like that at that time. And he's like, "Why haven't you found someone?" He's like, "What are you looking for in a man?" So I said, "I want him to be smart. I want him to be handsome. I want to have a sense of humor. I want him to be generous." Generous was a big one. I don't want to marry a miser. And I want him to be like, I listed out 10 different things. Be able to have a good conversation. Blah, 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 blah. He's like, looking at me like, "Are you all of those things?" And I'm like, "I think I am."
Did you actually
this
ever
is what
have a written list as well of what your expectations were?
I think I might have had a written list, but
Okay.
it was like very stuck in my head, that I wanted, you know, but more than anything else, I think I wanted someone to be a good person and kind of good looking. I got that.
Nice. Yeah, from my side, and my expectations were that Mrinalini jaisi honi chahiye. So, I think when I went down to Bombay and I was probably like, just starting to chase her for the first time, Vishesh is a really good friend. And he's like, "Man, she's the one." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I know she's the one." So, hence the pursuit happened that way as well. But it's interesting because sometimes, you do have people who have an entire list. I mean, I'd always talk about this at the GBA as well, that, we talk about Grant and Elena Cardone, and Elena Cardone had 99 points that she wanted in a guy. Grant Cardone failed most of them, okay? But yet, he was able to eventually convince her as well.
This is the thing about lists, right? You can have all these expectations, and you can have someone who meets all these expectations, but there's no chemistry, right? So then that puts everything, sends it all down the tube,
So true.
So you can't be really set in your ways about what you want, because you have to give up a few things and let a few things go, because nobody's perfect, right? And you're never going to get everything you want.
And it's almost like, when you have sometimes, on social media and on the websites, you see this thing about expectations versus reality. Where your expectation is this, but your reality is something quite different. And it happens in different cases. I'm saying even, you order a fried egg and you think it's going to be like a brilliant, nice, sunny side up, but it comes up all, mishmashed. I mean, expectation versus reality. And I think the same thing, people have to be aware that, in the beginning, everyone's putting up their A game. Everyone is, putting out a persona or a perspective. Yes, right. But only after a few months, maybe years, will you actually realize that it's not what it seemed like.
I think in our times, things were so much simpler. We didn't have all these, like the internet. It was just coming up, and we had a dial-up connection. It was 20 minutes to just connect you. It wasn't like the instant Wi-Fi and this and that, and just getting access to things around the world and stuff like that. And it was very, mobile phones also. It just started coming up, and it was simpler. You're like, okay, I see this person, I like this person, let's get married. I mean, I always say you have to be young and stupid to get married, because like the older you are, the more criterion come up. Nowadays, you find that people are looking at way deeper things than we looked at. We were like, okay, the guy has to be good looking and smart and have a certain amount of money, and we will grow together, which is what happened with us. We will grow together. And, it doesn't matter. We were willing to rough it out. We were willing to do all these things. But these days, there are very, very specific requirements that people have. And you were mentioning something about, the characteristics of...
Yeah.
Why don't you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So basically, it came up through like while we were preparing for this episode and we were brainstorming with it. So like we had this survey in which I was asking people that, what are your expectations and stuff like that. And then I got this mentioning about the person having a happy childhood. So, and I was like, okay. And then I had a lot of thoughts running through my head with that, because like I felt like that, yes, I do understand the fact that if someone does not have a happy childhood, then of course there are some negative impacts which come along with it. And there are certain ways that person will react to certain situations. But then also along with that, I feel like that it makes a person more mature, more practical, and knows how to deal with things. Like, because even I lost my dad to illness when I was in class 10. So there were a rough couple of 3-4 years for me, for my family, and well, that might not count as a happy childhood, right? But then I don't think that this is something which was ever in my control or is in the control of anyone who did
True.
not have a happy childhood. So how can this be a criteria? Of course, I do understand the fact that it stems from the fact that you want someone who is optimistic towards life, and generally people who do not have a happy childhood, they become a little bit more aware of things, they become more realistic towards life, and then they start to see things a little differently. But I don't think that that should be a criteria. That just ran through my head. Like, I really don't feel like that should be a criteria, because again, it's not in my control, anyone else's control. You can't control a childhood.
That's true. And you know where this is coming from? So now you have like these big global podcasters, and they're getting all these psychologists and relationship coaches, and they are talking about all these things. Like in one of the, like a very famous podcaster, one of his episodes, the lady was talking about, when she was asked, like, what is the one big thing you should look at, in a person before you get married, and she actually said their childhood. Okay, so this is, there's so much information now. You have access to, people talking about everything, and all these topics are being brought out. So I think somewhere, the simplicity of it all has gone, because you're thinking so much more. Now you're thinking about every aspect of the, your spouse's, your prospective spouse's lives, their childhoods, their, parents' relationship and everything. Somewhere I think one needs to simplify it a little bit, because you can't dismiss a person because they've had a crappy childhood, right? I mean, it's really not
But
their
I'd say
fault.
one aspect which has existed even way back then. I'm thinking way before we got married, and I'm thinking back to even some of our older cousins, etc. When they were seeing this particular girl or guy and they want to get married, one of the things that the parents of that particular girl told him is that you actually came from a broken home, and hence that's a deal breaker, and we feel that you're not the right guy for our daughter, even though they really got along really well. But they said we never know how that's going to play out. So I think there is this, bias to whether someone comes from a broken home. It's potentially something that might happen for them in their relationship as well.
In a way, there are patterns. So some people, it all again it's very dependent on that person's personality, how they are themselves, what they have seen in their childhood. Because yes, patterns are quite strong and it runs down generations. So you'll see, like, your relationship with your spouse will go very similar to your parents' relationship with your spouse sometimes. Also, there will be signs of disturbance in a person who has gone through tough childhoods, depending on how tough. So there you can take a call. But just because someone's had it rough, doesn't mean that you can't make it better for them.
So true.
Maybe they need somebody who will give them that joy and the support and the peace and calm that they haven't had in their childhood. But yes, there are certain things to look out for.
Yeah. And I think we should always and also keep in mind that the economics of the marriage industry, okay, the economics of websites. I mean, today you look at some of the big websites that have popped up. I mean, these companies are today potentially unicorns or more, and it's been created on the basis of the wedding industry, right? So I think the economics of it have to also be very lucrative to keep this entire thing like running like it is, right?
Yeah. Again, I think with the way things are going now, I'm not sure. I mean, does one know whether people are going more towards arranged marriages because not being able to find people on their own, or they're going towards love?
I
Something
think so,
that one can't
because
really.
a few days back I was seeing somewhere that there's some chart graph that 58% people are now into arranged marriages and 42% are into love marriages. Maybe they're not finding one, or maybe there are so many things that family pressures and all those things. But the graph is saying that arranged marriages are more successful nowadays.
Oh, wow.
That's
So
interesting.
that's
Very
something.
Do
interesting.
you think
Yeah.
58%
Yeah.
of arranged marriages are more successful as compared to
successful.
42% in love
Yeah,
marriages?
yeah.
But I think
Interesting.
for our demographic, right, we are more modern, and we have very progressive ideas about how things are. So caste and religion and all doesn't come into it so much, right? But if you look at, so we fished out a few matrimonials from like 20-25 years ago, and let me give you certain marriage expectations from that side. Actually, way simpler than this. So some of them were educated, beautiful, homely, God-fearing girl required for Aurora, divorcee, handsome boy.
Aurora. Okay.
Yeah. 35 years old, 5'10", +2, means like past school. Own business, Panipat based. Okay. Then there's another one, Medico match for handsome Garg. Very simple actually, radiologist, reputed Jaipur family. Then Professor Boy, 40, 5 feet 8 inches, unmarried, 11 lakh, gazetted Haryana based upper caste, no bar, girl merit consideration. Then for the suitable Brahmin girl required, then project manager working in software MNC, upper caste, no bar, seeking qualified match, simple marriage, good looking Gupta boy, government job, small family, well settled in Jalandhar, seeking educated middle class girl. So the caste actually came up a lot at that time. I'm sure actually, like in, rural India and the villages, I mean, this is still a big thing, right? It's a big thing. But I guess for people like us, it wouldn't be a big thing, would it?
I think it's a very subjective these days. If
Mhm.
someone is getting into a love marriage, then there might not be a very high consideration of what the caste is. But if even today, like we are going into a set of arranged marriage, I don't think the first preference would be someone who does not belong to your own caste. It still is there that, someone from a caste because it's an arranged marriage
Yeah,
setup.
because
However, if it's love, then they say, okay, it's normal nowadays, they're progressive, we're moving ahead, so it's okay, it's
Yeah.
fine.
so
Yeah.
for your arranged matches, did your family actually look at people from like your community, or were they looking at anybody?
First preference was that only from the family side, but from my side, it's not like that. And I'm like, after such time, my family was also okay with that.
So, sort of, what are your non-negotiables in the person you're looking at?
I always wanted my partner should also, work and just live her life. I mean, it's not like that you have some kind of priorities, questions that you can't do this, you can't do that. Uh, it's a family. At the end, it's a family, and in the family, everyone should, do something, and that is something I always wanted, and that's something a kind of non-negotiable for me. If the other person is not working anywhere, that person is just wanted to sit at home and doing all household duties, so that is something a non-negotiable for me. Then it's actually I personally don't want this thing, and I always wanted that my partner should always be with me, be with my family.
What if she stops working and says, "Okay, I'm like I really don't want to do this anymore," and after children, then what happens?
Then nothing happened. I mean, we can talk about it. We can talk about it.
Yeah, they'll cross that bridge when they come
Cross
to
that
it.
bridge, but
Yeah.
like you said, it's a hard no for you, like for
Yeah.
her to sit at home and
Yeah,
do nothing.
exactly.
So
I've never thought about, after
Yeah,
kids and all those things. My mindset was always clear that, this is something I always wanted. I have always mentioned that these things I've always telling my partner in the earliest days that this is something I don't have such fancy demands, but this is something, non-negotiable for me.
yeah. So have you had the financial conversation with her? Like the money, like
I haven't asked, to be very honest. I haven't asked. I know that the person is working very good and she's earning very well. That's
No,
it
but
for me.
has she spoken to you about what
No.
you expect from her financially?
No,
No?
not yet. Not
Maybe
yet.
have that conversation a little bit.
Maybe
'Cause that's
later.
kind of,
Maybe
yeah,
later. Maybe later. But we haven't discussed such
before
finances.
you get together, because that's kind of an important question.
Watch Love Rollercoaster episode number 4. That's for everyone. If you haven't watched it, it's the money conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, wishing you guys all the best. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant, and it's going to be a great life that you guys are going to have together. So looking forward to that. Kratika, your perspective, deal breakers, non-negotiables. What is it that you have on your list, which is okay? Don't cross this line.
I would definitely want my husband to love his family, someone who wants to be around his family, stay with them if possible.
Sure.
always, and respect them, love them. I would actually want the mama's boy kind of a boy, because it's just my own
Be careful what you wish
Be
for.
careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
You might just
I
get
know.
it.
I have this ideology that if someone is like that, if a guy is actually a mama's boy, he knows women. He knows. If you give me those expressions, I'll not be able to say anything. That is, I know it's uncommon.
I'm not going to say anything right now, but we'll have a chat after this.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I come from this. She's already.
Don't look at us. Look at us.
Don't look at me. Don't
us.
look at it. Look at him.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at you.
Because I come from this ideology that if a guy is actually a mama's boy, then so he knows how to be around women.
Okay.
He knows how to treat them well. He's seen what his mother has faced throughout her life. So they
Fair.
tend to not repeat that mistakes. They tend to understand more. And I feel like there are some generic things everyone wants, which is a person who is kind, who is empathetic.
Of course.
And if someone loves their family, they would have all of these traits within them. It comes naturally within them. And only then will the guy, actually understand that I also want to be around my parents, around my family.
Right.
And he will be able to respect me and my family more because of the fact that he respects his family a lot.
Got
So I
that.
think if that is not there, if he does not wants to stay around the parents or be around his family, I think it's a deal breaker.
All right.
I would not
Interesting.
want it.
Awesome.
Wow, that's interesting.
Wow. Yeah. So again, Kratika, Saurabh, thank you so much, for all your shares and, opening up on so much on the Love Roller Coaster. And I think my really big takeaway, from the episode today is that, yes, times have changed. The matrimonial ads of 20 years ago are very different to the matrimonial ads of, today. But at the core, okay, the expectations have kind of remained, fairly similar over the years, irrespective of all the inputs that we have and, all the stuff that comes our way across, social media and the media and everything else that we're exposed to today. I think heart of heart and, core of core, things have pretty much still remained fairly similar over the years. And I think the other fact is that, like they would say, right, Tali ek haath se nahi bajti. It is, two hands that have to come together. So similarly, when two people come together, there is going to be expectations at both ends, but there has to be a degree of compromise, at some point to make it work. And I think that really has been, the success of, our marriage as well. Any parting thoughts that you want to put in from your side?
There's a clip going around with Warren Buffett being asked, what is the criteria for a happy marriage? And he said, low expectations. So, well, you can have your expectations, but you have to understand that in life it doesn't work like that so much. But yes, have high standards. Okay, have high standards of behavior. Have high standards of behavior for yourself and from your partner. And make sure that you always are with somebody who respects you and respects your family. And I think if you have that mutual respect, you're kind of sorted. Because you'll have so many incidences where you're so apart, in the way you think, you're arguing, you're fighting, you're growing apart, your interests become different. And that's when that genuine affection and respect for each other will pull you back, like where you'll say, okay, I want to be with you more than I don't want to be with you. So, you have to find someone who displays those characteristics of affection towards you, and you have to work towards it for your whole life. That's
So true. Golden words. And hence, we will end on that note. So again, like this podcast, share this podcast. There is, some amazing things that we've been actually working on. Our email IDs are in the chat box. It is loverollercoaster@gmail.com in case you don't already have it. Look us up on social media, like, share, and of course, stay connected. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. You take care.